Drew, thanks very much. Joining us now, Trump campaign manager Kellyanne Conway. If, in fact, these people weren't just bragging and they were actually doing this is really serious stuff.
It's very serious, Anderson. It's serious on its face. But it's also serious because if you go back, the Trump campaign was forced to cancel events like in Chicago because of the protesters inciting violence. And now we know some of them may have been paid, certainly egged on. It's very disappointing, too, because I want a stronger statement from Hillary Clinton and her campaign disavowing this conduct. The way they came out when one of our North Carolina offices just 2 days ago was firebombed. Had anybody been in there, they could have been maimed or worse, killed. Where is the strong statement disavowing that? I think Hillary Clinton's scarcity is strategy. I get that, why they hide her for days before a debate. People don't want to be reminded how much they don't like her or they don't trust her. But
you don't think it's just debate prep? You think she's intentionally
we have 23 days. With 23 days to go, she's gone for 5 of them. That's their strategy. But I would like her to put out a statement saying this is activity that we do not condone whatsoever. They don't speak for us because, as your reporter just said, Drew just reported, they're working with the campaign.
It's interesting. By the way, we invited the Clinton campaign to come on tonight to talk about this.
I'm sure
no.
I'll take their spot.
Okay, right. It's also interesting to me that Bob Creamer, this guy who I don't know, would use the term, this is just barroom talk. I mean,
right.
It's kind of hypocritical for Democrats to be attacking Donald Trump for what he described as locker room talk and say, well, it's not just locker room talk. And then for them to use this term, oh, this is just barroom talk.
Well, that's right. And all these emails and FOIA requests, by the way, not just WikiLeaks revelations, really bring us back to the same point. You know, Hillary Clinton surrounds herself with people who, when they're not spewing anti-Catholic bigotry, they're worried about what is in her core, what will her message be, can she find her voice? This woman's been finding her voice for 30 years. Then we see in FOIA requests the fact that you have collusion between the FBI, the State Department, the Department of Justice. The State Department is being used as a concierge for foreign nations, for favored donors. The 200,000 victims of the Haiti earthquake in 2010 have to wait a little bit longer for help because the State Department is trying to figure out who the friends of Bill Clinton are, should get the contracts. I mean, this is terrible. You don't want these people running the government. And then, of course, we know how she feels about people when nobody's looking. Deplorable, irredeemable. Bernie Sanders voters are basement dwellers.
How she did apologize for saying half.
Only because she was caught.
Well, I'll leave that up to voters to decide. How much do you want to hear from Donald Trump tomorrow continuing to prosecute the case against Hillary Clinton as he did in the last debate?
It's all I want to hear.
Donald Trump, is it really?
It's all I want to hear. Donald Trump is best when he's on the issues. I mean, we've got them more.
But those aren't necessarily issues. Those are character. I mean,
well,
do you want
character, but
policy?
It's also, I'm sorry, Andrew, excuse me. Yes, it's both. It's prosecuting the case against somebody who has been in government or in public life for 30 years and is calling that experience and seasoning. Experience isn't always necessarily a benefit. It's always not necessarily a good thing. Why are 3.7 million more Americans in poverty than when Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton took over? Why are over 12 million women without health insurance while I sit next to you? So if she's been fighting for women and children, where is the product? So you've got to prosecute that case against her, too. I think there are many foreign hotspots around the globe that she's partly responsible for, have her fingerprints on it. That was her Russian reset. That's Syria, the red line that was false. We have a humanitarian crisis now, 80,000 children dead. So she needs to own this. I want him to prosecute the case that this election is still, with 3 weeks to go, what it's always been, past versus future.
Today, President Obama said your candidate should stop whining about rigged elections. Do you want to hear tomorrow during the debate him continuing this line about rigged elections? I'm talking about rigged media.
He is.
His term, I know, but actually rigged elections,
so
voting rigging.
I think there are a couple things that go into his definition of rigged and corrupt. It certainly is collusion between many in the media. We just had the Journo donations yesterday. I mean, you're talking about 96% of the presidential campaign donations coming from working reporters, Anderson, went to Hillary Clinton. Those numbers don't lie. 96% it's really close to 100%. It's a 27-to-1 difference. And 23 million Americans through these 3 major networks, ABC, NBC, and CBS, heard 23 minutes worth of these allegations against Donald Trump and these accusers who he has denied completely. Melania Trump last night denied completely. She stands by her story. She stands by her account of the People magazine reporter. They got about 56 seconds worth of what we learned from the emails through WikiLeaks versus 23 minutes on the 3 big networks, accounting for a 23 million share of Americans. So he's got a point when he says things are unfair.
But again, you're talking about the media. I mean, what about ballot irregularities. I mean, he's talking about a rigged system, not just media. He's talking about the actual, and a lot of these states are Republican, Republican governors, Republican secretaries of state who've come forward. The guy in Ohio came forward and said, look, there's nothing irregular here.
Well, he did, but in Colorado, we know the CBS Denver affiliate found out that dead people were voting. Somebody who died in 2006 was still voting. You see right here, dead people were registered to vote in Virginia. We know that goes on.
Right, but you know that a Loyola study, which shows like a couple of dozen examples out of billions of votes cast.
We can compare our studies, but I think Mr. Trump's point is the same, where if you already feel like the system is against you because you're trying to challenge the system.
What study do you have that shows otherwise?
Well, we have a bunch of studies where they're right here, actually. I can hold them up or I can read them. But his point is the same, which is that in a country, a government that was supposed to deport 800 criminals who were here illegally hit the wrong button and gave them citizenship and they stayed instead of being deported. The same government that runs ridiculous
there's certainly
malfeasances like that.
Right. I mean, there's a famous Pew study which has shown a lot of people are on the rolls who are deceased, things like that. But that doesn't mean that those people are being used to vote, that it's actually resulting in voting irregularities.
It doesn't mean that they're not. And, absent widespread fraud and irregularities, we will, of course, accept the result of the election. And maybe
you will.
Because we're going to win it. So we'll be very happy to.
Ed Rollins today on Laura Ingram's show, Ed Rollins, a supporter of Trump, said it would take a miracle for Trump to win. I think that's...
And we've seen them before. And Ed's a great guy and a friend, and we're happy that he's involved with the super PACs. We can't communicate with him because of that. And he knows, he's seen this before because he worked for Ronald Reagan, who was dismissed by people and was behind in the polls in October.
So you believe that there are people who are, not represented in the polls? Or that?
I do believe that. I can't find a single hidden Hillary vote in the whole country. I mean, they're all out and, holding their signs up here behind you tonight. And I think for Hillary Clinton, she's got the current president, a past president she happens to be married to. She's a very popular first lady, more popular than Hillary Clinton will ever be, and Michelle Obama. She's got the vice president. She has endless amounts of money. And as I tried to say to you last week on your show, Anderson, why can't she get to 50% and stay there anywhere? And that's an important question in answering yours, because she's like the 46% gal. She's nowhere near the margins that President Obama got twice in states where we're competitive.
Right, but why can't your candidate beat somebody?
Nevada, Ohio, North Carolina, Florida, states that Barack Obama, he carried North Carolina one time, but states that he carried twice with well over 50% of the vote. She's never been at 50%.
I'm not arguing that she's a great candidate, but why can't your candidate defeat somebody who you're saying is not a very good candidate?
He can and he will. Oh, my goodness, she has so many advantages. She has endless money. She's got a lot of the media. She has a very popular president and first lady out there campaigning for her. I mean, I will tell you, I'm mystified as to why she can't get to those 52, 53% numbers in some of these states, given the disadvantages we're handed every day. And I don't feel sorry for us. I just think that we're going to win this because people love a comeback story. And the one thing Donald Trump has that she simply does not is the mantle of change and disruptor and Washington outsider, successful businessman versus typical politician. And you know what else he's going to do, Anderson? He'll continue to campaign. We get criticized a lot. He's doing rallies. Will those people vote? Will the people who stood in the rain for 4 hours to see him at a rally, sometimes today in Colorado, they were overflow. They're going to vote.
We shall see.
And I think they're not all counted in the polls.
3 weeks from now. Kellyanne Conway.
Thanks for having me.
Good to have you on. Just ahead.